You might be feeding your arthritis every morning without even realizing it. For many people, joint pain feels like an unavoidable part of getting older, something that just comes with age. But that isn't true. Your body isn't attacking itself. It's reacting to what you're putting inside it. The stiffness in your knees, the ache in your fingers, the swelling that flares up after certain meals, these are all your body's natural alarm signals. They're warning you that something in your diet is quietly feeding the fire of inflammation. I often tell my patients that healing doesn't begin with what you add, but with what you remove. And today, we're going to uncover the 15 most dangerous foods that silently stiffen your joints, weaken your legs, and make it harder for your body to move freely. Once you understand what's happening beneath the surface, you'll see that arthritis isn't just about worn-out joints. It's about what we feed them every single day. When you eat processed sugars, refined oils, or white flour, your body doesn't recognize them as nourishment. It treats them as invaders. The immune system sends out its tiny soldiers, cytokines, to attack, and those same cytokines create swelling, redness, and heat. Think of your joints as delicate hinges covered in a thin layer of protective oil. When inflammation strikes, that smooth oil thickens and hardens. Movement becomes stiff, like trying to open a door that's rusted shut. Over time, this ongoing irritation wears away the cartilage, slows circulation, and prevents oxygen and nutrients from reaching the muscle tissues around your joints. That's why so many people not only feel pain, but also experience weakness in their legs. The blood isn't flowing the way it should, and the muscles aren't getting what they need to stay strong. Another hidden process at work inside the body is something called oxidative stress. Imagine a spark landing on dry grass. Each time you eat a meal filled with refined sugar or fried oils, more of those sparks ignite. The body tries to extinguish them using antioxidants, but if your diet lacks fresh fruits, vegetables, and natural fats, the sparks turn into small fires that damage tissue. The same happens with what we call AGEs, advanced glycation end products. These form when sugars combine with proteins during high heat cooking or when we consume too many sweetened foods. They harden and stiffen the collagen that surrounds your joints, making movement more painful and recovery slower. The truth is, inflammation is not just a medical term, it's a story of imbalance. When your meals are built around processed foods, you create conditions where the body can't heal itself. But when you choose foods that calm inflammation, the body's repair systems awaken. Blood starts flowing freely again, the swelling eases, and strength begins to return to your legs. Let's begin with one of the most common culprits, soda and sugary drinks. These are liquid inflammation in a bottle. Each sip floods your bloodstream with fructose, which triggers a surge in inflammatory messengers. Your joints react almost immediately, stiffening as the sugar binds to proteins and forms AGEs. These sweet drinks also rob your body of minerals like magnesium and calcium that your bones and muscles need. The extra sugar converts to fat, and that added weight puts more pressure on your knees and hips. You may think it's just a soft drink, but to your body, it's a chemical signal to inflame. If you want to take the first simple step toward calmer joints, replace soda with lemon water, herbal teas, or cucumber-infused water. You'll be surprised how quickly your energy and mobility respond. The second hidden poison is white bread and other refined grains. Most people don't realize that these fluffy loaves are made from stripped grains that have lost their fiber, vitamins, and minerals. What's left is pure starch, which spikes your blood sugar and fuels inflammation. Every time blood sugar rises sharply, cytokines are released, the same compounds responsible for swelling and pain. Without the fiber found in whole grains, the sugar from white bread enters your bloodstream all at once, like a flood with no dam to slow it down. Over time, this pattern leads to insulin resistance, another condition that feeds chronic inflammation. You might notice that after a sandwich or a piece of toast, your joints feel heavier or your hands swell slightly. That's the glycemic response at work. The body's repair systems are too busy fighting the sugar storm to focus on healing. By swapping white bread for whole grain or sprouted options, you're feeding your joints with natural minerals and fiber that calm that storm and help your muscles regain their natural tone. Next is bacon and other processed meats. They may smell delicious sizzling in the pan, but behind that aroma lies a dangerous mix of saturated fats, nitrates, and sodium. These compounds thicken your blood and constrict circulation, which means less oxygen reaches your joints. When blood flow slows, waste products build up, fueling stiffness and pain. The advanced glycation that forms when bacon is cooked at high heat adds another layer of damage, aging your tissues from the inside. I've seen people who, after just a few weeks of avoiding processed meats, notice that their fingers no longer swell and their morning stiffness fades. The body simply needs a break from the constant chemical assault. Replace those meats with lighter proteins, beans, lentils, or grilled fish, and your joints will start to breathe again. Potato chips come next, those crunchy little bites of pleasure that are, in truth, crunchy inflammation. Fried at extreme temperatures in unstable oils, they deliver a dose of trans fats that damage cell membranes and spark inflammation throughout the body. Each chip you eat adds to the load of oxidized fats circulating in your bloodstream, turning up the heat on every sensitive joint. And it isn't just the oil, it's also the salt. Excess sodium causes your body to retain water, swelling the tissues around your joints and increasing discomfort. Over time, this combination of fat and salt dries the natural fluids that keep your joints lubricated. It's no wonder many people notice their knees ache more after snacking. Choosing baked vegetable crisps, roasted chickpeas, or a handful of raw nuts offers the same satisfaction without feeding the fire. Finally, we reach beer and alcohol. These are perhaps the most deceptive triggers because they are so socially accepted. But alcohol interferes with your body's ability to absorb essential nutrients like zinc, magnesium, and B vitamins, each critical for tissue repair. It also dehydrates your cells, including the cartilage that cushions your joints. Without proper hydration, the cartilage becomes brittle, leading to that grinding sensation many arthritis sufferers describe. For some, alcohol also increases uric acid levels, contributing to gout, one of the most painful inflammatory conditions. I've met countless people who discovered that simply reducing their alcohol intake allowed their joint pain to subside within weeks. Instead of reaching for a beer at the end of a long day, try a glass of sparkling water with lemon or a calming herbal infusion. Your joints will thank you for the relief. When we look at these 5 everyday foods, soda, white bread, bacon, chips, and alcohol, we begin to see a pattern. Each one is processed, dehydrating, and acidic. Each one confuses the body's natural chemistry, turning nourishment into poison. Yet the good news is that the body is remarkably forgiving. The moment you stop feeding inflammation, healing begins. Within days, your blood becomes thinner, circulation improves, and oxygen flows back to the muscles in your legs. Movement becomes smoother, and that deep ache starts to fade. The first step toward rebuilding strength and reclaiming your mobility is simple awareness. Once you recognize these hidden poisons on your plate, you reclaim the power to choose healing instead of harm. When you stop feeding inflammation, your body begins to rebuild. It's one of the most hopeful truths in natural healing. Your joints are not wearing out. They are responding to what you've been putting inside them. The moment you remove the triggers, your body quietly begins to repair the damage. Let's look at the next 5 culprits that slow that healing, the everyday comfort foods that seem harmless, but whisper inflammation into your bloodstream and stiffen the very joints you're trying to protect. Ice cream is one of those foods that carries emotional warmth, but physical consequence. Every spoonful brings a mix of sugar and dairy, Two elements that sound innocent until they join forces in the body. Together, they form acids that your joints cannot easily flush out. Sugar fuels insulin spikes that inflame tissues, while the casein proteins in dairy increase mucus and stiffness in already inflamed joints. Over time, this double assault leads to swelling, fluid buildup, and that dull ache that feels worse in cold weather. Barbara often says, "It's not the ice cream that cools you down, it's your body's inflammation response, trying to balance the internal fire." When you replace ice cream with frozen berries or a banana blended with almond milk, you still get that creamy satisfaction. But instead of pain, you give your body antioxidants and healing compounds that calm inflammation from within. Margarine, the so-called modern butter, is another hidden villain in the diet of many arthritis sufferers. It was marketed for decades as a heart, healthy option, but what most people never realized is that margarine is a laboratory creation. It's trans fats, man-made oils hardened through hydrogenation, interfere with the flexibility of your cell membranes. Imagine your cells as tiny doors that open to let nutrients in and waste out. Trans fats jam those doors shut. This stiffness at the cellular level translates into stiffness in your joints. Instead of margarine, pure butter from grass-fed cows or a drizzle of olive oil provides the body with natural fats that lubricate the joints and reduce inflammation rather than fueling it. Barbara often explains that good oils are the body's natural WD-40, keeping your system running smoothly without the chemical residue. Pepperoni pizza, a weekend favorite, seems harmless until you look at what's truly happening inside. Every bite delivers a perfect storm. Refined white flour, processed cheese, nitrates, and a heavy dose of sodium. The refined flour spikes blood sugar and feeds inflammation, while nitrates from the pepperoni stress the liver and release free radicals that attack connective tissue. Excess sodium retains water in your tissues, creating the puffy, tender feeling around your knees and fingers. Over time, this combination thickens your blood, slows circulation, and deprives your joints of oxygen. Barbara often reminds her audience that pain thrives where oxygen is missing. When you reduce foods like pizza, you allow your blood to carry nutrients and oxygen back to your muscles, and stiffness begins to ease. A homemade version using whole grain crust, fresh vegetables, and olive oil can satisfy without sabotaging your healing. Diet soda is another trap that appears innocent, but can silently feed inflammation. Many turn to it thinking it's a healthier choice. But the artificial sweeteners inside, like aspartame and sucralose, confuse your brain and disrupt your gut microbiome. Your gut is your second immune system, home to bacteria that decide how much inflammation is produced throughout your body. When those bacteria are disturbed, they send mixed signals, leading to systemic inflammation. The carbonation and acids in diet sodas also leach minerals like calcium and magnesium, both essential for bone and muscle health. Over time, this weakens the framework that supports your joints. Barbara calls this the illusion of zero. Zero sugar doesn't mean zero damage. Replacing diet soda with mineral-rich herbal teas or water infused with lemon and mint restores both hydration and balance to your system. Instant noodles might be quick comfort for the busy, but inside the body they create a slow storm. Each packet is loaded with sodium, chemical flavor enhancers, and hydrogenated oils. These ingredients not only dehydrate the cartilage that cushions your joints, but also make your blood thicker and harder to circulate. The lack of fiber and nutrients means your body receives calories but no healing materials. It's like running a machine without oil. Over time, this constant stress exhausts your adrenal glands, raises cortisol, and increases inflammatory responses throughout the body. Barbara often paints the picture simply. When you eat chemical food, your body must become the filter. The alternative is simple. Replace instant noodles with a warm bowl of vegetable soup or brown rice noodles mixed with fresh herbs and turmeric. Your body immediately recognizes the difference, Within days, digestion smooths out and joint pain begins to ease. Within just 7 to 14 days of cutting these foods, many people notice something remarkable. The morning stiffness that once took minutes to stretch away starts fading. Movement feels lighter, energy steadier, and the dull fatigue that often clings to chronic inflammation begins to lift. The reason is simple. The body is no longer fighting daily invaders. When inflammatory triggers are removed, the blood becomes more fluid, oxygen travels freely, and nutrients reach the places they've been blocked from for years. Barbara explains it as the turning point of healing, the moment when the body stops merely surviving and starts restoring. As blood flow improves, leg strength returns naturally. Muscles that once felt heavy or weak begin to respond to even gentle movement. The swelling that once made stairs difficult starts to settle down. This isn't magic. It's the biology of healing. Your cells, no longer suffocated by inflammation, begin to generate energy efficiently again. Circulation delivers minerals, oxygen, and antioxidants back into the tissues, and the body uses them to rebuild. The same foods that once tightened and inflamed your joints are gone, replaced with nourishment that supports freedom of movement. And it all begins with one simple step: choosing what to remove from your plate so your body can do what it was always designed to do: heal itself. We've seen how food can fuel pain, but food can also rebuild. Every meal you eat is either a message of inflammation or a message of healing. Your body listens to every bite, every sip, every habit. When you start removing the foods that burden your joints, you make space for recovery. So before we move toward the healing phase, let's finish the list. The final 5 foods that silently slow your body's natural strength and make arthritis harder to reverse. Once you know them, you'll never look at your plate the same way again. Grapeseed oil may sound refined and even healthy. After all, it's often promoted as a light alternative to heavier oils. But hidden behind that label is an imbalance that fuels inflammation. This oil is extremely high in omega-6 fatty acids, which the body does need in small amounts. Yet most modern diets already contain far too much. When omega-6 dominates and omega-3 is lacking, the body shifts into an inflammatory state. It's like having more fire than water inside your cells. Over time, this imbalance encourages stiffness, joint swelling, and pain that feels worse after meals. Barbara often explains, nature designed us for balance, not overload. Replacing grape seed oil with extra virgin olive oil or flax seed oil restores that harmony, giving your body the kind of fats that actually soothe inflammation rather than spark it. Within weeks, the difference shows: less swelling, smoother movement, and a sense that your body is finally calming down from the inside out. French fries are perhaps the world's favorite comfort food, yet they are one of inflammation's most reliable allies. Each golden strip is a fried starch soaked in trans fats, often cooked and re-cooked in oil that has lost all its life. This process creates free radicals, unstable molecules that attack your cells like tiny sparks of rust. The starches then quickly convert to sugar in the bloodstream, feeding even more inflammation. The result is a sudden flare-up, swollen joints, heavy legs, and aching muscles that feel as if they've been deprived of oxygen. Barbara often reminds her listeners that pain after food isn't random. It's feedback. The body is simply saying, "I don't know how to use this." Swap those fries for baked sweet potato wedges, brushed with olive oil and rosemary, and you give your joints a meal rich in beta-carotene and antioxidants. What once fueled pain now fuels repair. White rice is another quiet culprit in many diets, especially because it looks so harmless. But what remains after the grain is polished is pure starch, empty fuel that spikes insulin and feeds inflammation. When insulin rises, inflammatory chemicals called cytokines increase as well, making the joints feel stiff and unresponsive. White rice also lacks magnesium and B vitamins, both essential for muscle strength and energy production. Barbara describes it simply: It fills the stomach but starves the cells. When you replace white rice with brown rice, quinoa, or lentils, you feed your muscles slow, burning energy that keeps blood sugar steady and reduces inflammatory stress. Over time, you'll notice your legs feeling steadier, your balance stronger, and your recovery from simple activities, like climbing stairs, much quicker. Cheesecake combines 3 of the body's least friendly ingredients: sugar, cream, and refined fat. It's a triple threat that overwhelms the liver, spikes insulin, and raises triglycerides. The dairy proteins in cheesecake can trigger inflammatory responses, especially in people sensitive to casein, while the refined sugar feeds oxidative stress, the process that makes cells age faster. This dessert, while delicious, sets off a chain reaction that leaves your joints puffy and tired. Barbara often says, "You can taste sweetness without inviting pain." Her alternative is simple: blend cashews, dates, and coconut milk for a natural, no-bake version that satisfies cravings while nourishing your body with real, living nutrients. The difference isn't just chemical, it's energetic. Your body recognizes real food and responds with healing rather than inflammation. Corn-fed beef might sound natural, but it's a modern invention of industrial farming. Cows in nature eat grass, and from that diet comes meat rich in omega-3 fatty acids and conjugated linoleic acid, both of which reduce inflammation. But corn-fed beef flips that balance. The grain-based diet changes the fat composition, flooding the meat with omega-6s and reducing its healing potential. Over time, this shift contributes to chronic inflammation in those who consume it regularly. Barbara often reminds her audience, it's not the meat, it's what the animal ate. Choosing grass-fed or pasture-raised beef restores the body's natural fatty acid balance, helping to lubricate joints and support the production of collagen, the very protein that keeps cartilage healthy and strong. The same piece of meat, when sourced differently, can either inflame or restore. That is the quiet power of choice. Now that we've unmasked the 15 most dangerous foods for arthritis, it's time to shift from avoidance to empowerment. Because healing isn't about restriction, it's about restoration. Your joints are not aging, they are inflamed and waiting for repair. The same body that built itself once knows exactly how to rebuild again. When you stop feeding inflammation and start feeding recovery, healing becomes natural, almost inevitable. Begin by returning to foods that calm and nourish, rather than ignite and inflame. Green vegetables like spinach, kale, and broccoli flood your cells with magnesium, calcium, and antioxidants. Olive oil, avocados, and flaxseed give your body the healthy fats it needs to repair cell walls and reduce friction in the joints. Turmeric, with its golden glow, works as nature's own anti-inflammatory, helping to quiet pain signals and restore circulation. Lentils and beans provide gentle plant proteins that rebuild muscle fibers and keep your legs strong without overburdening your digestion. Collagen broths, made from slow, simmered bones or plant-based sources, feed the connective tissue that cushions your joints and gives strength back to your knees and hips. Gentle movement plays a role just as vital as food. The moment you begin walking, stretching, or taking a few deep breaths in fresh air, your circulation awakens. Blood begins to deliver nutrients to the places that once felt frozen. Barbara often reminds her listeners, motion is medicine. You don't need to lift weights or run miles, just consistent, mindful movement. Pair this with hydration, pure water or herbal teas, to flush away the toxins that inflammation leaves behind. Sunlight is another forgotten healer. Its vitamin D activates calcium absorption, strengthening bones and muscles alike. 10 to 15 minutes of morning sun can do more for your joints than a shelf full of supplements. What's remarkable is how quickly the body responds. Within days of consistent nourishment and gentle motion, stiffness softens. Within weeks, mobility returns. Within months, strength is renewed. The body is not broken, it is simply waiting for the right message. And food is that message. a language the body has always understood. When you replace fear with awareness, restriction with nourishment, you become an active participant in your own recovery. You can walk freely again, not because of a pill, but because you changed the message your food was sending to your body. You chose life, giving ingredients over processed confusion. You chose to trust your body's intelligence. That's the power of natural healing, and it belongs to you. If this message helped you, share it with someone who needs healing. Subscribe to Older Insight, where we uncover how nature rebuilds what time has taken away.